4:45 on a December morning, and the barn door latch feels like it's been dipped in liquid nitrogen. My breath comes out in white puffs that hang in the air under the single bare bulb. The diesel engine on the old John Deere coughs twice, dies, coughs again. Third crank's supposed to be the charm, but this morning she's stubborn as a mule with a toothache. I'm wiping frost off the windshield, thick as cake icing, when I hear footsteps crunching across the gravel behind me. Linda. Even in the dark, I can smell that perfume she wears. Too sweet for a barn, too sweet for anywhere, if you ask me. Still out here playing farmer? Her voice cuts through the cold. Walt, there's nothing left to farm. You sold the herd 8 years ago. My hands shake from the cold, I tell myself, as I grip the leather gloves Margaret gave me our last Christmas together. The leather's gone stiff in the freeze. Equipment needs maintaining, I say. Always has. She sighs, the way people do when they think you're losing your mind. We need to talk about your future. I called Stephen. You remember, the lawyer from church? He thinks we should discuss care options. The tractor finally turns over. The rumble fills the silence between us. That was 3 weeks ago, before Christmas Eve service, before everything changed. Now it's Christmas Eve, and I'm sitting in the front pew at First Lutheran like I have for 50 years. The church smells like pine and candle wax and that burnt coffee they make in the fellowship hall. My suit jacket scratches at my neck. Polyester blend Margaret always said made me look like an undertaker. Reverend Oakes raises his hands, and 300 people stand for Silent Night. I know every verse by heart, sang it at my own father's funeral, sang it the Christmas Margaret told me she was pregnant with Rachel. My voice carries clear through the first verse, always has, baritone that can fill a barn or a church, Margaret used to say. Halfway through verse 2, Linda's hand clamps on my shoulder. Honey, she says, loud enough for the Hendersons behind us to hear. That's verse 3. You already sang that one. The organ stutters, stops. I look down at the hymnal, my fingers right there on verse 2, right where it should be. No, it's okay. Her nails dig in through my suit jacket. Red polish on those nails, bright as a cardinal. We all forget sometimes. The church ladies in the row across are looking at each other. That look, the one that says, poor old man. My face burns. The hymnal shakes in my hands. Gene Harlow, 2 rows back, leans forward. His eyes narrow behind his thick glasses. Reverend Oakes clears his throat and starts the organ again. Everyone sings. Everyone but me. I just stand there, feeling like I've been gutted and hung up to cure. In the parking lot after service, the wind cuts through my coat like it's looking for bone. My truck's covered in a thin sheet of ice. I'm scraping the windshield when Danny jogs up, his breath coming in clouds. Grandpa? He's 17, tall as me now, with Margaret's green eyes. I need to show you something. Can it wait? I'm tired, son. No? He glances back at the church, where Linda's standing with a cluster of women laughing about something. It's about those trail cameras I put up, for deer season, remember? I do remember. 3 weeks ago, he'd spent a Saturday mounting game cameras on oak trees around the property. Motion-activated, solar-powered. He'd been excited about finally getting his first buck. What about them? He pulls out his phone, shields the screen from the wind, shows me a grainy night vision image. A truck I don't recognize, parked at the edge of our back 40. Timestamp says 2:47 a.m., December 10th. I checked all 8 cameras yesterday, Danny says. Grandpa, someone's been watching the house. At night, and there's more, way more. The ice scraper slips from my hand, clatters on the frozen asphalt. Behind us, Linda's voice rises above the wind. Walt, you coming? We need to get home. You look exhausted. I look at my grandson, at the phone in his hand, at the small red light blinking on the oak tree across the parking lot. Another camera, one I hadn't noticed before. Show me everything, I whisper. But not tonight. Tomorrow, when she's at that open house in Madison. Danny nods, pockets his phone. I bend down, pick up the scraper. My knee pops like a gunshot. Linda's walking toward us now, heels clicking on ice. The morning after Christmas, I wake at 4:30 like always. The farmhouse creaks in the cold. Old bones settling, same as mine. Linda's still asleep in the guest room, started sleeping there 6 months ago, said my snoring kept her up. I pull on my Carhartted overalls and the wool socks Margaret knitted in '98. They've got holes in the heels now, but I can't bring myself to throw them out. Downstairs, I make coffee in the percolator. The burnt smell fills the kitchen, mixing with the faint scent of yesterday's ham. My hands are steadier than they were at church. Always are, in the mornings. The ledger's where I left it, on the kitchen table. Brown leather cover, pages yellow with age. I've kept it since I took over from Dad in '79. Every oil change, every repair, every bag of seed, it's all here in my handwriting. December 24th, replaced fuel filter, John Deere 4440, $47.83. Runs smooth now. I pour my coffee and walk out to the barn. The wind's died down, but the cold hasn't. 22 degrees according to the thermometer nailed to the barn door. I flip the switch and the fluorescent lights flicker on, buzzing like angry wasps. The empty stalls stare back at me. Used to have 40 head of dairy cows. Now there's just dust and old straw and the ghost smell of manure that never quite goes away. But the equipment's still here. The tractor, the hay baler, the corn planter, all maintained, all ready. I run my hand along the tractor's hood, cold metal that makes my palm ache, and check the oil. Perfect. Check the tire pressure. Perfect. Same ritual I've done for 43 years. I'm greasing the PTO shaft when I hear the gravel crunch. Danny's truck, an old Ford Ranger that burns oil. He comes in carrying a laptop and a cardboard box. "Merry Christmas, Grandpa." He sets the box on the workbench. "Brought the hard drives from all 8 cameras. You're going to want to sit down for this." We pull up 2 overturned buckets. Danny opens the laptop and the screen glows blue in the dim barn light. He clicks through folders, each labeled with a date and location. "Started with the back 40 camera," he says. "November 15th. That's when it gets interesting." The footage plays. Night vision turns everything green and grainy. A silver pickup truck rolls up to the fence line. 2 men get out. One's young, 30s maybe, wearing a jacket too thin for November. The other's bigger, older. They walk along the fence with a flashlight, stopping every 50 feet. The younger one unrolls something, papers, blueprints. "Who are they?" I asked. "We'll keep watching." The younger man pulls out orange stakes from the truck bed. Surveyor stakes, starts pounding them into the frozen ground with a mallet. The sound doesn't carry on the silent footage, but I can imagine it. Thunk, thunk, thunk. "November 23rd, Danny says, clicking to another file. "Same guys, different location." More stakes, closer to the barn this time. The younger man's face catches the camera's infrared for just a second. Sharp features, expensive haircut, not from around here. December 3rd. This time there are 3 people, the 2 men and... My breath catches. Linda. She's wearing her black coat, the one with the fur collar, standing right there on my property at 1 a.m, talking to these men. The younger one hands her something. She looks at it, nods, hands it back. "I got more," Danny says quietly. December 10th, 14th, 18th, 21st. Always around 2 or 3 in the morning. Always the same people. He clicks through them. Each one shows Linda meeting with these men. Sometimes they're walking the property line. Sometimes they're pointing at the barn, at the house. In one shot from December 18th, the younger man is holding a rolled-up document. Linda's signature is visible when it catches the camera's flash. White ink on dark paper. My coffee's gone cold in my hand. I set the cup down on the concrete floor. It clinks loud in the silence. "There's audio too," Danny says. "Camera near the house caught some of their conversation. December 21st. You want to hear it?" I nod. He turns up the volume. Static, then voices. Linda's voice, clear as a bell. "Needs to happen before April. Once the planning permit expires, the county will..." A man's voice cuts in. "We're working on it. The conservatorship filing is ready. After the holidays, we move. He won't know what hit him." Linda laughs. It's not a sound I recognize. "Good," she says, "because I'm tired of waiting. This land is worth $2.4 million, and I'm not spending another winter in that house pretending to care." The recording cuts out. Danny and I sit there on those buckets, staring at the frozen screen. Outside, a crow caws. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzz. My hands aren't steady anymore. "Grandpa?" Danny whispers. What do we do?" I stand up slow. My knee pops. I walk to the barn door and look out at the fields. Snow covers everything. 180 acres of Brennan land. My grandfather cleared this with a mule and a hand plow in 1893. Built the barn with lumber he cut himself. My father survived the Depression here. Margaret and I raised Rachel here. And now my wife, my second wife, the one I married because I couldn't stand the loneliness, is planning to take it all. I turn back to Danny. We call Gene Harlow, right now. Gene Harlow arrives an hour later, driving the same Buick he's had since he retired from the sheriff's department. He's 72, 3 years older than me, with a belly that hangs over his belt and hands that still look like they could cuff a man in under 3 seconds. He brings the smell of Old Spice and winter air into the barn. "Show me," he says. No preamble, That's Gene. Danny plays it all again, every video, every timestamp. Gene pulls a pocket notebook from his jacket, the same kind he carried for 30 years on patrol, and writes in it with a stubby pencil. Date, time, description. When the audio plays, Linda's laugh echoing in the cold barn, Gene's jaw tightens. That's conspiracy to commit fraud, he says. Maybe elder abuse, depending on what this conservatorship thing is. He looks at me. Walt, has she filed any papers? Anything legal? She mentioned a lawyer, Stephen something, from church. Stephen Kowalski. Gene spits the name like it tastes bad. Ambulance chaser, got disbarred in Illinois, came here 5 years ago. He scribbles more notes. I'm going to make some calls, but Walt, you need to understand, this is bad. Really bad. If she's got a lawyer already, she's ahead of us. What do we do? My voice sounds thin, old. We get you a lawyer, too, and we document everything, everything. You still keeping that ledger? Every day since 1979. Good. That shows competency. We're going to need that. He closes the notebook. One more thing. That young guy in the video, I know him. Kyle Mercer. Runs a development company out of Stevens Point. Been trying to buy up farmland for strip malls. Offered the Hendersons $2 million for their place last year. They told him to go to hell. The name lands like a stone in my gut. Kyle Mercer, the man walking my land at night. The man with Linda. New Year's Day brings freezing rain. The kind that coats everything in a shell of ice and makes the power lines sag. Linda says she's staying home, too dangerous to drive, so I can't meet with Gene like we planned. Instead, I sit in the living room pretending to watch a football game while she moves through the house like she already owns it, taking measurements, photographing rooms with her phone. What are you doing? I asked during halftime. Just updating our home inventory, for insurance. She doesn't look at me. You should really consider downsizing, Walt. This place is too big for one person. 2 people, I correct. Right, 2 people. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. For now. The church potluck on January 5th smells like Jell-O salad and burnt coffee and the casserole that Helen Morrison always makes, the one with the cream of mushroom soup that nobody likes but everybody eats to be polite. The fellowship hall is packed. Folding chairs scrape against linoleum. The big percolator in the corner gurgles and hisses. I bring store-bought pie, apple, the bakery kind with the waxy crust. I can't bring myself to make Margaret's recipe. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That feels too much like replacing her. Linda arrives late, making an entrance in a red dress that's too fancy for a church potluck. She touches my shoulder and announces to the room, "Sorry we're late." Walt got confused about the time. I told him 3 o'clock, but he insisted it was 2. I didn't. It was 3. I know it was 3 because I checked the church bulletin twice. But nobody asked me, they just nod with those sympathetic faces. "It's fine, dear," says Helen Morrison. "The important thing is you're both here now." Linda gets a plate and joins the younger crowd. The couples in their 30s and 40s. The ones with small children running between tables. They welcome her like she's one of them. Fresh, modern, not stuck in the past like the old widower she's married to. I sit with Jean and Dolores Chen and Reverend Oakes at the corner table where the old-timers gather. We eat in silence for a while. The casserole tastes like wallpaper paste. Then Jean leans close, voice low under the chatter. "Dolores has something to tell you." Dolores sets down her fork. She's in her 60s, runs First National Bank, wears her gray hair in a tight bun. Known her since she was a teller in '87. She looks nervous. "Walt, Linda came into the bank Thursday." She glances around to make sure nobody's listening. "Asked about reverse mortgages on the farm." My stomach drops. "She said you two were exploring options for retirement planning." Dolores's fingers make air quotes. "Wanted to know how much equity you could pull out. I told her I'd need to see you in person for something like that. She didn't like that answer." "How much?" My voice comes out hoarse. "At your age, with your equity, a reverse mortgage would take about 40% immediately in fees and interest. Over time, maybe 60%. You'd have to pay it back if you sold or moved. Or died, I think, but I don't say it. Walt, there's something else." Dolores pulls a folded paper from her purse. "I made a copy. I could lose my job for this, but..." She slides it across the table. It's a reverse mortgage application, dated December 15th, Linda's signature at the bottom, clear as day, and beneath it, a forged scrawl that's supposed to be mine. My hand trembles as I hold the paper. The coffee mug Helen just refilled sits in front of me, steam rising. I can smell the bitterness, feel the heat radiating from the ceramic. "She hasn't submitted it yet," Dolores whispers. "But Walt, if she does, And if it's approved before you challenge it, the bank has to honor it. That's the law. Across the room, Linda laughs at something Kyle Mercer just said, because Kyle Mercer is here. At the church potluck, standing next to my wife with his hand on the small of her back. Gene sees where I'm looking. That son of a bitch. Reverend Oakes puts his hand on my forearm. Walt, listen to me. Some of us have been watching. We've seen things, and we believe you. But a lot of people don't, I say, looking at the younger tables, at the sympathetic faces that think I'm just a confused old man who can't remember hymn verses. Not yet, Gene says, but they will. January 15th. The sheriff's deputy arrives at noon. His cruiser crunches up the gravel driveway, light bar dark, but the presence unmistakable. He's young, maybe 30, with a fresh haircut and uncomfortable eyes. Linda answers the door before I can, like she was expecting him. Walter Brennan? The deputy asks, looking past her to where I'm standing in the kitchen doorway. That's me. He hands me an envelope. Official county seal. You've been served, sir. Court date is February 15th. 10 a.m. I open it with shaking hands. The legal words swim. Petition for emergency conservatorship, advanced dementia, danger to self. Petitioner Linda Brennan requests immediate control of financial and medical decisions. Attached is a doctor's evaluation. Dr. Raymond Hendricks. I remember him, saw him once maybe 6 weeks ago. Linda had made the appointment, said it was just a routine checkup. According to this evaluation, I scored 18 out of 30 on something called an MMSE test, below the competency threshold. Patient shows significant cognitive decline, memory impairment, and confusion regarding temporal orientation. I don't remember taking any test. There must be a mistake, I say. The deputy shifts his weight. That's for the judge to decide, sir. You have the right to an attorney. Linda takes the papers from my hand. Her perfume, too sweet, always too sweet, fills my nose. Thank you, deputy. We'll handle this. When he's gone, she turns to me. Her face is soft, concerned, the same face she wore at church. Walt, this is for your own good. You're not safe here alone. You forget things. You get confused. That doctor confirmed it. She touches my arm. I'm doing this because I love you. Because I don't want you to hurt yourself. I pull away. I'm not signing anything. You don't have to. That's what the conservatorship is for, to protect you from making bad decisions. She sets the papers on the kitchen table. The hearing's in a month. We'll get through this together. She leaves the room. I hear her footsteps on the stairs, hear her bedroom door close. I stand there in my own kitchen, in the house my grandfather built, holding a piece of paper that says, I'm not competent to make my own decisions. Outside, a crow lands on the fence post, caws 3 times, my phone buzzes, text from Jean, got a lawyer for you, free through legal aid, Rachel helped, call me. Rachel, my daughter, the one who lives 2 hours away, the one I haven't heard from since Thanksgiving. I text back, on my way. Jean's house sits at the end of a gravel road, surrounded by pine trees that creak under the weight of ice. His basement smells like gun oil and old carpet. Deer heads stare down from the paneled walls, 8-pointers and a massive 12-point buck from '03. The CB radio on the workbench crackles with static and occasional trucker chatter from Highway 51. He's spread everything across a folding table. His pocket notebook, Danny's laptop with the trail cam footage, printouts of Linda's bank inquiries that Dolores copied, the conservatorship papers, and in the center, a yellow legal pad covered in Jean's block handwriting. Rachel called me, Jean says, pouring coffee from a thermos. The smell is strong enough to strip paint. Soon as she heard about the conservatorship, she's pissed, at Linda, not at you. That surprises me. At Thanksgiving, Rachel had barely said 10 words to me, spent the whole meal on her phone, left right after pie. She's a CPA, Jean continues, works for a firm in Milwaukee. She's been going through public records on Linda, found some interesting things. He slides a paper across the table. Your wife bought a Lexus in October, $78,000. I stare at the dealer invoice, Linda's signature. Our joint bank account listed as the down payment source, $20,000 I never approved. Her real estate commissions last year totaled $42,000, Jean says. Public record. Wisconsin requires disclosure. So, where'd the extra money come from? I don't have an answer. Here's where it gets better. He shows me another document. Kyle Mercer's LLC paid Linda $60,000 in November, listed as consulting fees for property acquisition services. Jean leans back, makes the folding chair creak. She's been on his payroll for months, Walt. Maybe longer. The basement suddenly feels too small, too cold. I can hear the furnace kick on upstairs, a low rumble through the floor joists. There's more, Jean says. We need to talk about that doctor. Hendricks. I called around. Turns out he's testified in 4 other conservatorship cases in the last 2 years. Every single one, he declared the patient incompetent. Every single one was a family member trying to take control of assets. He taps the papers. He's a professional witness, Walt. Linda paid him to say you're senile. Can we prove that? We can raise questions, but you need to take another cognitive test. A real one, with an independent doctor. Jean checks his watch, which is why we're going to see Dr. Elizabeth Santos in an hour. She's at the county health office. Rachel set it up. Rachel did? Your daughter loves you, Walt. She's been busy, that's all. But she's in your corner now. Jean stands, joints popping. One more thing before we go. Dolores is going to help us with something. You still got Margaret's safety deposit box at First National? Yeah, never closed it after she died. Good. We're putting your farm deed in there, today, with Dolores as a witness. That way Linda can't forge your signature on a sale document. Deed stays locked up until you personally retrieve it. It's a small thing, a precaution, but it makes me feel like I've got at least one hand on the wheel instead of just sliding toward the ditch. First National Bank smells like new carpet and the peppermints they keep in a bowl by the teller windows. Dolores meets us in the vault room, her face professionally neutral in case anyone's watching, but her hands shake slightly when she unlocks the safety deposit box. Inside, Margaret's wedding ring, which I couldn't bear to get rid of, her mother's pearl brooch, the deed to 180 acres of Brennan land, recorded 1893, transferred father to son to me. I take the deed out. The paper is thick, yellowed, nearly 132 years old, my grandfather's name in flowing script, Henrik Brennan, my father's signature from 1947, Robert Brennan, mine from 1982, Walter Brennan. I add a new piece of paper, handwritten on a sheet from Jean's legal pad. This land is Brennan land. 130 years. Not for sale. Not for development. Not now. Not ever. Walter Brennan, January 19th, 2025. Dolores watches me sign it, adds her signature as witness, timestamps it with the bank's official seal. If Linda tries to sell, Dolores says quietly, the title company will require the original deed, and this deed doesn't leave this box without you standing here in person with 2 forms of ID. She locks the box. I'll make a note in the system. Manager-level approval required for any access. We walk out through the lobby, past the young tellers who don't know me, past the mortgage officer who's probably processed a dozen reverse mortgage applications just this month. Outside, the January sun is bright on the snow, but there's no warmth in it. The bank thermometer reads 19 degrees. Jean claps me on the shoulder. One small win. Now let's go get you a real cognitive test. We're walking to his Buick when I see it. Linda's Lexus, parked across the street in front of Mercer Development LLC's office. The building is new, all glass and steel, out of place in our little downtown of brick storefronts and faded awnings. Through the window, I can see them, Linda and Kyle, bent over a table covered with blueprints, her hand on his arm, his hand on her waist, they're laughing. Don't, Jean says, reading my mind. Not yet. We document. We prepare. Then we hit them with everything at once. But I'm not looking at Linda anymore. I'm looking at what's spread across their table. Architectural drawings, site plans, and in the center, unmistakable even from across the street, an aerial photo of my farm with red lines drawn across it, parcels, lots, a grid where my fields should be. The photo has text at the bottom. I can just make it out. Brennan Property, proposed Mercer Meadows Shopping Center, Phase 1, groundbreaking May 2025, May, 3 months away. Jean sees it too, pulls out his phone, takes pictures through the window before Kyle notices and reaches for the blinds. Too late, we've got it. Get in the car, Jean says. We need to talk to Danny about moving those trail cameras closer to the house. If they're planning something, I want it on film. I climb into the Buick. The vinyl seat is cold enough to feel through my Carhartt. Jean starts the engine, cranks the heat. Classic rock station plays something I don't recognize. Too much guitar, not enough melody. Jean, I say, what if we can't stop this? What if the judge believes that doctor? He pulls onto Main Street, past the hardware store, and the diner, and the post office where I've picked up mail for 40 years. Then we make them work for it, he says. Every inch. Every day, we make Linda and Kyle wish they'd never heard the name Brennan. The CB radio on his dashboard crackles. A trucker's voice. Black ice on Highway 51, mile marker 87. Somebody just went into the ditch. Gene reaches over, adjusts the squelch. Old habits. The voice fades to static. Dr. Santos is expecting us at 3, he says. After that, we sit down with Rachel and the legal aid lawyer. We build our case. I nod, watch the town roll past. The same streets I've driven for 68 years. The same buildings, the same people, or at least their children and grandchildren. Everything familiar, everything mine, everything Linda thinks she can take. The chest pain hits at 2 in the morning. I'm lying in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind rattle the window panes. Been awake for hours thinking about May, about bulldozers and strip malls and my grandfather's hand plow gathering dust in some antique store. Then my chest tightens like someone's wrapped a steel band around my ribs and started cranking. Can't breathe, can't think, just pain radiating down my left arm. I manage to roll out of bed, hit the floor on my knees. The hardwood is cold against my palms. Linda, I try to shout, comes out as a whisper, but she heard something. Her bedroom door opens, footsteps in the hall. She flips on the light, and I'm squinting up at her, one hand clutching my chest. Oh my God, Walt! She's on the phone before I can say anything. Yes, 4247 County Road, J. My husband. I think he's having a heart attack. Please hurry. The EMTs arrive in 12 minutes. They smell like coffee and antiseptic. Young guys, competent, asking questions I can barely answer. They load me onto a gurney, wheel me out through my own front door like a piece of furniture being repossessed. Linda rides in the ambulance, holds my hand. Her palm is warm, dry. She keeps saying, "It's going to be okay, baby. Just breathe. Just breathe." And for maybe 30 seconds, I almost believe she means it. The ER at County General is bright enough to hurt. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead while a doctor who looks about 14 hooks me up to machines that beep and whir. EKG, blood pressure cuff that squeezes my arm every 5 minutes. IV line in my hand that stings. Mr. Brennan, I'm Dr. Park. She's got kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Looks tired. Third shift will do that. Your EKG shows some irregularities, but I don't think you're having a heart attack. Your troponin levels are normal. Blood pressure's high, 172/95, but that could be stress-related. So what was it? My voice sounds like gravel. Possibly angina, possibly a panic attack, possibly just severe stress. She makes notes on a tablet. When's the last time you saw a cardiologist? Never needed one. Linda leans forward from the plastic chair in the corner, still in her bathrobe, hair perfect even at 3 a.m. Doctor, he's been under a lot of stress lately. His memory's been declining. We're actually going through a competency evaluation. I don't have memory problems, I interrupt. Dr. Park looks between us, that look medical people get when they know they're in the middle of something that's not their business but might become their problem. Mr. Brennan, I'm going to prescribe a blood pressure medication, and I strongly recommend you reduce your stress levels. Whatever's happening in your life, she glances at Linda, you need to address it before your body makes the decision for you. They discharge me at dawn. The sun's coming up over the parking lot, turning the ice on the cars pink and gold. Linda drives. I sit in the passenger seat of my own truck, feeling every one of my 68 years. That was scary, she says, hands at 10 and 2 on the wheel, perfect posture. Walt, I think this proves what I've been saying. You can't handle the stress of managing the farm anymore. It's literally killing you. I'm too tired to argue. Too tired to do anything but watch the fields roll past. The Henderson's place. The old Peterson farm that got sold to developers 5 years ago. Now it's a Walmart and a Culver's. The landscape of my whole life slowly disappearing under asphalt and parking lots. The conservatorship hearing is in 3 weeks, Linda continues. Maybe it's for the best. Maybe it's time to let someone else make these decisions. You could rest. Really rest. No more worrying about planting permits and property taxes and... I tune her out. Listen instead to the sound of the tires on cold pavement, the heater blowing stale air, my own heartbeat still there, still going despite everything. She pulls into our driveway, puts the truck in park but doesn't kill the engine. I'm going to call Dr. Hendricks, she says. Let him know about the ER visit. It'll be important for the hearing, shows the toll all this is taking on you. She gets out, walks toward the house. I sit there in the truck, Engine running, heater blasting. My phone buzzes. Text from Jean. How are you? Danny told me about last night. Don't respond if she's watching. I wait until Linda's inside. Then I type, alive. Barely. She's using this. Already planning to tell the judge. Jean. Figured. Got news, though. Good news. Rachel's coming tomorrow, and she found something. Something big. Me. What? Jean. Margaret's jewelry. Your wife pawned it. We got receipts. I stare at the phone. Read it 3 times to make sure I'm understanding. Margaret's wedding ring, the one I put in the safety deposit box last week, except it wasn't her ring, it was a fake. Linda had already sold the real one. The passenger door opens. Cold air rushes in. Linda stands there, phone in hand. Come inside, she says. You need to rest. Doctor's orders. I pocket my phone. Climb out of the truck. My chest still aches, but it's not angina. It's rage, burning cold and bright as January ice. February 15th arrives like a punch to the gut. The courthouse sits in the middle of town. 1960s brutalist concrete that looks like it was designed to crush hope. Inside, it smells like floor wax and old paper and the fierce sweat of 100 people who've stood before judges and heard their lives decided by strangers. The courtroom is smaller than I expected. Wood grain laminate tables, American flag drooping in the corner, fluorescent lights that make everyone look sick. The stenographer's machine clicks like insect legs. Linda sits at the petitioner's table with Stephen Kowalski, the lawyer Jean warned me about. Kowalski's got slick back hair and a suit that's trying too hard. Linda's wearing pearls and a navy dress. Respectability costume. Concerned wife. I'm at the respondent's table with Maria Gonzalez, the legal aid attorney Rachel found. She's maybe 35, sharp-eyed, with a briefcase full of documents and a pen she keeps clicking. Nervous habit. Jean sits in the gallery behind me. So does Rachel. My daughter drove up from Milwaukee this morning. She squeezed my shoulder when she came in, but hasn't said much else. Her face is tight, angry. Judge Morrison enters. Everyone rise, and we all stand. He's 65, gray beard, reading glasses on a chain. Used to farm before he went to law school. I'm hoping that counts for something. Be seated. His voice fills the room. Case number 2025 CV0847. Petition for emergency conservatorship. Let's proceed. Kowalski goes first, smooth as oil, talks about my declining cognitive function and risk to self and others. Presents Dr. Hendricks' evaluation, the 18 out of 30 score on that test I don't remember taking. Dr. Hendricks himself testifies, recites medical terminology like he's reading from a script. Significant temporal disorientation, impaired executive function, consistent with moderate dementia. Maria cross-examines. Dr. Hendricks, how long was your evaluation of Mr. Brennan? Approximately 45 minutes. And in those 45 minutes, you determined he had moderate dementia? Combined with reported incidents from his spouse? Yes. Reported incidents. Maria picks up a paper. Such as forgetting hymn verses at church? Among other things. Did you verify any of these incidents independently? Hendricks shifts in his seat. The spouse's testimony is generally considered reliable in these assessments. Generally. Maria lets that word hang. Dr. Hendricks, how many conservatorship evaluations have you conducted in the past 3 years? I don't have an exact number. Would 47 be accurate, according to public court records? The courtroom feels smaller, hotter. That sounds approximately correct. And in how many of those cases did you determine the individual was competent to manage their own affairs? Silence. The radiator hisses in the corner. Dr. Hendricks? Medical evaluations are based on clinical findings, not how many. None. But that's because the cases referred to me typically involve significant... Thank you. Maria sits down. No further questions. Then it's Rachel's turn. She walks to the witness stand like she's heading into battle, swears on the Bible, sits down. Kowalski tries to be gentle with her. Ms. Brennan, you've observed your father's behavior recently. Would you say he's been more forgetful, more confused? Rachel looks at him, then at Linda, then at me. My father, she says slowly, maintains detailed farm records going back 43 years. He can tell you the maintenance history of every piece of equipment on that property. He passed an independent cognitive evaluation last week with a score of 29 out of 30. She pulls a paper from her purse. This is the report from Dr. Elizabeth Santos at County Health. My father is completely competent. Kowalski's face tightens. But your stepmother has documented incidents. My stepmother, Rachel cuts him off, pawned my late mother's wedding ring for $3,200 on November 18th. She holds up a receipt. Also, my grandmother's pearl brooch for $1,800 on November 18th. Same day, same pawn shop in Stevens Point. Her voice shakes now, not with fear, with fury. My mother made me promise, on her deathbed, that I would get that ring someday. Linda told my father she lost it. She didn't lose it, she sold it. The courtroom erupts in murmurs. Judge Morrison bangs his gavel once. Order! Linda's face has gone white. Kowalski is frantically flipping through his notes. Maria stands. Your Honor, we also have evidence of financial irregularities. Mrs. Brennan has been receiving payments from Mercer Development LLC, $60,000 in consulting fees for a property she doesn't own. We have bank records. We have a deed that's been secured in a safety deposit box with witness signatures to prevent forgery. And we have documentation that Mrs. Brennan attempted to file a reverse mortgage application using a forged signature. Judge Morrison removes his glasses, rubs his eyes. Counselor, he says to Kowalski, I'm going to give you and your client a chance to respond to these allegations, but I'm also going to order a 30-day provisional period. Mr. Brennan will remain in control of his affairs. If he can demonstrate continued farm competency, and I mean actual agricultural activity, not just maintenance, by March 30th, this petition will be denied. He looks at me directly now. Mr. Brennan, I'm also noting that the County Agricultural Extension has your planting permit up for renewal on April 15th. If this farm shows no active agricultural use by that date, it will factor into my final decision. Do you understand? I stand. Yes, Your Honor. Good. The gavel comes down. Gavel. Will reconvene March 31st for a final hearing. Dismissed. Outside, the February wind cuts like a knife. Rachel hugs me tight. She's crying. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. You see it now, I say. That's what matters. Jean joins us on the courthouse steps. You heard the judge. 30 days. Planning by April 15th. He looks at the sky. Heavy clouds. Ground's frozen until at least mid-March, maybe later. I know. Walt, they designed this to be impossible. I watch Linda and Kowalski walk to the parking lot. She's on her phone, probably calling Kyle. Yeah, I say. They did. The hardware store smells like sawdust and motor oil, and the coffee Billy Tate keeps brewing in the back office. I'm looking for fence staples when Billy comes out from behind the counter, wiping his hands on his work apron. Walt, he nods, shifts his weight. Heard about the court thing. Rough deal. Yeah. Listen, He glances toward the front window like he's checking if anyone's watching. Linda was in here last week, February 28th. Bought 5 gallons of kerosene. I set down the box of staples. I don't use kerosene. That's what I thought. But she charged it to your farm account, said you were using it for the space heater in the barn. He pulls a receipt from under the register, yellow carbon copy, Linda's signature clear at the bottom. Thing is, Walt, you told me 3 years ago you switched all your heaters to propane, said kerosene was too dangerous in a wooden barn. The receipt trembles in my hand. Time-stamped 3:47 p.m., 5 gallons. $23.76. Can I get a copy of this? Billy's already making one on the ancient photocopier in the corner. Jean called me yesterday, asked the same thing. Look, I don't like getting in the middle of people's business, but he hands me the copy. That woman's setting something up, and it ain't good. I fold the receipt into my wallet. Thanks, Billy. One more thing. He leans on the counter. You need parts for that old John Deere? Tires, seed. I know money's tight with the legal bills and all. We can work something out. Payment plan. Whatever you need. The kindness hits harder than I expect. I have to clear my throat before I can answer. I appreciate that. Driving home, I call Jean. She's planning arson. Has to be. Why else buy kerosene and put it on my account? To make it look like you did it, Jean says. Static on the line. He's on his CB radio. She burns the barn, claims you left a heater running, insurance investigator finds kerosene purchase in your name, proves you're incompetent, maybe dangerous. When? Before the March 30th deadline. Has to be. If that barn burns and you can't plant because you've got no equipment. He doesn't finish. Doesn't need to. I'm moving the trail cameras tonight, I say. Closer to the barn. If anyone comes near it, I want their face on film. March 3rd. Rachel's car pulls into the driveway at noon. She gets out carrying a briefcase and a look that means trouble for someone. We sit at the kitchen table, the same table where I ate breakfast for 43 years, where Margaret and I did our taxes every April, where my father taught me to play cribbage. Rachel opens the briefcase. I hired a forensic accountant. Cost me $2,000, but it was worth it. She spreads papers across the table. Bank statements, property records, transaction histories. Linda's been stealing from you for 18 months. Small amounts at first, 500 here, 1,000 there. Then it got bigger. My coffee's gone cold. I don't touch it. November 2024, Rachel continues. She withdrew $20,000 for the Lexus down payment. December, another $15,000 labeled home repairs, but there were no repairs. January, $10,000, it's all documented. She points to highlighted lines. Total, she's taken $73,000 from your accounts. The kitchen walls seem to close in. $73,000, nearly 2 years of my Social Security and farm lease payments. There's more. Rachel pulls out another document. Remember Mom's jewelry? I went to that pawn shop. They still had the brooch. I bought it back. She sets a small velvet box on the table. Opens it. Margaret's pearl brooch. Her grandmother brought it from Poland in 1908. I haven't seen it in 4 years. The ring was already sold, Rachel says quietly. I'm sorry, Dad, but I got this. I pick up the brooch. The pearls are still luminous, still perfect. My hands shake. Dad, Rachel's voice cracks. I should have seen this. I should have been here. After Mom died, I couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle this house without her in it. So I stayed away, and while I was gone, Linda was... Stop. I set the brooch down. You're here now. That's what counts. She wipes her eyes. Pulls herself together. CPA mode returns. The forensic accountant's report goes to the judge. So do the pawn shop receipts. So does Billy's kerosene evidence. Jean's compiling everything into one file. She checks her watch. Speaking of Jean, he wants us to meet him at Reverend Oakes's office at 3. Says he has something important. First Lutheran Church's office smells like old books and lemon furniture polish. Reverend Oakes sits behind his desk, hands folded. Jean stands by the window. Dolores Chen is there too, perched on the edge of a chair. We're putting together a plan, Jean says, for March 30th, the competency demonstration. Ground won't be thawed enough to plant, I say. Not by then, maybe not even by April 15th, the way this winter's going. I know, Jean pulls out a calendar, which is why we're not waiting for ideal conditions. We're planting March 30th no matter what, even if we have to break through frozen patches with pickaxes. Reverend Oakes leans forward. I've spoken with 15 families from the congregation. They're all willing to help. We'll have equipment, manpower, seed. We'll plant 5 acres. That's the minimum for active farm status, according to county regulations. 5 acres in 1 day? I shake my head. With frozen ground? Billy Tate's donating a heavy-duty tiller, Dolores adds. And he's got a loaner tractor standing by in case yours has any problems. Which, given recent events, she lets the implication hang. You think Linda will sabotage it. I think Linda will do whatever it takes, Jean says, which is why Danny's moving into your barn starting tonight. He'll sleep out there, guard the equipment. And those trail cameras, he's repositioning all 8 of them. Around the barn, around the house, around the property line. If anyone comes near that farm with matches or sugar for your fuel tank or a wrench to loosen your tractor's brake line, we'll have it on film. The room goes quiet. Outside, a car drives past. The old furnace kicks on, rattling through the vents. There's something else, Reverend Oakes says. He pulls out a thin book, leather-bound. Margaret's handwriting on the cover, Prayer Journal, 2014 to 2017. My breath catches. Margaret left this with me, he says softly. Asked me to give it to you if you ever needed it. She was worried, Walt. Worried about you being alone after she was gone. She wrote about it a lot in those final months. He opens to a marked page, slides the journal across the desk. Margaret's handwriting, still neat despite the cancer treatments that made her hands shake. October 12th, 2016. I'm afraid of leaving Walt alone. Not because he can't take care of himself. He's the strongest man I know. But because he's too kind, too trusting. He sees the best in people, even when it's not there. I pray whoever comes into his life after I'm gone will be worthy of his goodness. I pray they'll see how special he is, how this farm isn't just land. It's our family's soul. Please, God, let someone protect him the way I can't anymore. I can't read the rest. The words blur. Rachel squeezes my hand. She knew, I whisper. Even then, she knew. She loved you, Reverend Oakes says. And she'd want you to fight for what's yours, for what's right. Jean clears his throat. So here's the plan. March 29th, we prep. March 30th, we plant. Community effort, documented, photographed. County Extension agent invited to witness. By the time Judge Morrison reconvenes court on March 31st, you'll have 5 acres of corn in the ground and 50 witnesses to your competency. And if Linda tries something before then? Jean smiles, thin, cold. Then we've got 8 cameras running 24/7 and Danny with a cell phone on speed dial to 911. Plus me, Dolores adds. I've been documenting every irregular transaction. If she tries to move money, forge signatures, anything, I'll know within hours. I look at these people, my daughter, my old friend, my reverend, my banker, all willing to stand with me against a woman who stole my dead wife's jewelry and plans to burn my grandfather's barn. Okay, I say, let's do it. That night, Danny moves a sleeping bag and a camp stove into the barn. The trail cameras blink red from 8 different angles. I watch from the farmhouse window as he settles in, reading a book by lantern light. My phone buzzes, text from Jean, sleep light. If anything happens, call me first, then 911. I don't sleep at all. March 20th, 11 at night. I'm sitting at the kitchen table with the lights off, watching the barn through the window. Danny's out there, the cameras are rolling, everything's ready for tomorrow's planting, but I can't shake the feeling in my gut. The same feeling I had the morning Margaret died, like the world's about to tilt sideways. I'm drinking cold coffee when the barn door opens. Danny steps out, phone to his ear. Even from here, I can see his posture change. Tense, alert. My phone rings. Danny. Grandpa, don't turn on any lights. 2 men just pulled up to the back access road. Truck with no plates. They're walking toward the barn now. I move to the window, cup the phone. Can you see their faces? Camera 4 has them, recording. One's got a backpack, the other's carrying something. Wait, it's a gas can. My chest tightens. Not pain this time. Rage. Danny, get out of there. Now. Not yet. I need... now. I hear him moving. The barn door creaks, then his voice drops to a whisper. I'm behind the tractor. They're at the side door. One's got a crowbar. The sound of wood splintering carries across the frozen yard. I'm already dialing Jean with my other hand. He answers on the first ring. They're here, I say. 2 men, gas can, breaking into the barn. Stay inside. I'm calling it in. 3 minutes out. But I'm not staying inside. I grab my coat. Margaret's recipe card falls out of the pocket. I'd kept it there since the potluck, some kind of talisman. I shove it back in and head for the door. The cold hits like a slap. My breath fogs. Gravel crunches under my boots. Too loud, but I keep moving toward the barn, toward my grandson who's hiding behind a tractor while 2 men pour gasoline on my grandfather's legacy. I can smell it now. That sharp petroleum stink mixing with the winter air. Through the open barn door, I see them. 2 men, 30s maybe, one with a neck tattoo, the other shorter, stockier. The stocky one's splashing gasoline on the hay bales I'd stacked last fall. The one with the tattoo is doing something with the electrical panel. Hey, my voice cracks the night. What the hell do you think you're doing? They freeze, turn. The stocky one drops the gas can. It glugs onto the concrete. Shit, neck tattoo says. We were told nobody'd be here. Well, somebody is. I step into the barn. My legs are shaking, but I keep them locked. You're on my property. You're trespassing. And that's arson you're about to commit. The stocky one reaches into his jacket. I see the knife handle. Then Danny steps out from behind the tractor. He's holding his phone up, camera pointed at both men. Got both your faces, he says. And audio. You just admitted someone sent you. Sirens. Distant but getting closer. Neck tattoo looks at his partner. We gotta go. Now. Not so fast. Jean's voice from the barn entrance. He's holding a shotgun. Not pointing it, just holding it. You boys are gonna wait right there for the sheriff. Move, and we've got a problem. The stocky one makes a run for it anyway. Gets maybe 10 feet before he slips on the icy gravel and goes down hard. His knife skitters away. Jean doesn't move. Like I said, wait there. The deputy sheriffs arrive. 2 cars, lights painting everything red and blue. They cuff both men, read them their rights, bag the gas can as evidence. You got footage? The senior deputy asks Danny. 8 cameras, every angle, audio too. They said someone sent them. Who sent you? The deputy asks Neck Tattoo. He just shakes his head. Asks for a lawyer. But Danny's replaying the audio on his phone. The deputy leans in, listens. There's a voice. Not the 2 men. A phone call they'd made before breaking in. A woman's voice, tinny through the speaker. Make sure it looks like an accident. The old man probably left a heater running. Just give him a reason to believe it. Linda. The deputy looks at me. Mr. Brennan, that voice, you recognize it? I close my eyes, open them. That's my wife. They arrest Linda at 1:47 a.m. right there in our house. She's in her bathrobe, hair in curlers, playing the shocked spouse. But the evidence is overwhelming. The phone records, the recordings, the gas can, with her credit card receipt in the truck. She looks at me as they cuff her, really looks at me, and for just a second, I see something almost like regret. Then it's gone. This is a mistake, she says. Walt, tell them I would never. You pawned Margaret's ring, I say, quiet, tired. You stole $73,000. You tried to have me declared incompetent so you could sell land my grandfather homesteaded 132 years ago. I shake my head. The only mistake here is that I ever believed you loved me. They take her away. The house goes quiet except for the furnace rumbling and Jean making coffee in my kitchen. Rachel arrives at dawn. She doesn't say anything, just holds me while I finally cry. March 30th arrives with gray skies and mud. The temperature climbed to 42 overnight, warm enough to start the thaw. Not warm enough to make planting easy, but we're doing it anyway. The first truck arrives at 6 a.m., Billy Tate's F-250, pulling a trailer with his heavy-duty tiller, then the Hendersons in their old Chevy, the Morrisons, the Johansons, the Chens, Jean and Dolores together, Reverend Oakes in his Subaru, that's seen better days. By 6:30, there are 15 trucks parked in my driveway, families spilling out with thermoses of coffee and work gloves and the kind of quiet determination you only see in farm country. Nobody's talking much. They just unload equipment and gather near the barn that still smells like gasoline, even though the fire department aired it out for 3 hours last night. Billy backs his loaner tractor off the trailer, a newer John Deere, green paint still shiny. She's all yours for the day, Walt, fueled up, ready to go. I shake his hand. Can't find words. Reverend Oakes stands on an overturned bucket and raises his voice. Let's start with a blessing. 15 families bow their heads in my muddy barnyard. The wind carries his words across the fields. Lord, we ask your blessing on this land, on this man, on the work we do today. Guide our hands and strengthen our backs. Let this earth receive what we plant with grace. Amen. Amen, we echo. Then we get to work. The ground fights us every inch. The tiller breaks through the top layer but hits frozen subsoil 2 feet down. We adjust, go slower, let the machine do the work. The smell of diesel and fresh-turned earth fills the air. Robins land in the furrows behind us, hunting for worms. Jean drives the tiller. Billy and his sons handle the planter. I walk the rows with Danny, checking depth, making sure the spacing's right. Rachel and Dolores bring coffee and sandwiches around 10. Helen Morrison sets up a folding table with cookies that taste like sawdust, but we eat them anyway because she made them and she's here. The county extension agent arrives at 11. Sarah Whitmore, clipboard in hand, official witness. She photographs everything, takes notes, walks the field, and measures. 5.2 acres, she announces at noon. That exceeds the minimum threshold for active agricultural use. Mr. Brennan, you're in compliance. A cheer goes up. Small, tired, but real. We work until 2. The last seed goes in. Danny and I cover the final row by hand, patting the soil down like we're tucking in a child. I stand at the edge of the field, 5 acres of straight rows, corn seed nestled in mud and hope. Around me, 15 families pack up their equipment. Their hands are dirty, their backs ache. They came anyway. Thank you, I say, too quiet. I try again, louder. Thank you, all of you. Jean claps me on the shoulder. That's what neighbors do, Walt. But it's more than that. It's proof. Proof I'm not alone. Proof I'm not crazy or incompetent or any of the things Linda said. Proof that this land, this life, still matters to people. Sarah Whitmore hands me an official form, stamped, dated, signed. Plant permit approved through December 2025, she says. You've got witnesses, documentation, and my signature. Judge Morrison will have this on his desk Monday morning. That night, I take a real cognitive test. Dr. Elizabeth Santos administers it in her office at County Health. Rachel drives me. Jean waits in the lobby. 30 questions, some easy. What year is it? Who's the president? Some harder. Memorize 3 words and repeat them 5 minutes later. Draw a clock showing 11:10. Count backward from 100 by 7s. I miss one. Can't remember the exact date. Think it's March 30th, but it's actually March 31st by now. Past midnight. Dr. Santos scores it. 29 out of 30, Mr. Brennan. That's well within normal range for your age. Above average, actually. She signs the evaluation. I'll send this to the court and to your attorney first thing Monday. In the car, Rachel reaches over and squeezes my hand. You did it, Dad. We did it, I correct. Monday, March 31st. Back in the courthouse that smells like bleach and broken lives. But this time, I'm not scared. Maria Gonzalez presents our evidence. The planting documentation, the cognitive test, the forensic accountant's report showing Linda's theft, Billy's kerosene receipt, the pawn shop records, Rachel's testimony about the stolen jewelry, and then Jean stands. Your Honor, we also have video evidence of attempted arson. The screen flickers to life. 8 camera angles, crystal clear, 2 men breaking into the barn, gas can, the phone call, Linda's voice. Make sure it looks like an accident. The courtroom is silent except for the video audio. Even the stenographer stops typing. When it ends, Judge Morrison removes his glasses, rubs his face. Mrs. Brennan has been charged with conspiracy to commit arson, elder abuse, fraud, and theft. She's currently in county jail awaiting arraignment. Mr. Mercer's development license has been suspended pending investigation. And he looks at me. Mr. Brennan, I apologize. This court failed you. Your petition for conservatorship is denied. Your competency is established. Your farm remains under your sole control. The gavel comes down. It's over. Outside, the sun breaks through the clouds for the first time in days. Rachel hugs me. Jean pumps my hand. Dolores is crying happy tears. I just breathe. In and out. Free. My phone buzzes. Text from Danny. Grandpa, get home. Quick. My stomach drops. What now? We drive fast. Pull into the driveway. Danny's standing in the field, waving his arms. I run, hobble, across the muddy rows. Look, he says, pointing down. Green shoots. Tiny, fragile, but unmistakable. The corn is already sprouting. April 12th, the radio on the porch crackles with the morning farm report. Corn futures up, spring planting across the state running 2 weeks behind due to late frost. But not here, not on Brennan land. Gene sits in Margaret's old rocking chair, coffee steaming in his hands. The chair creaks with his weight. Neither of us says anything for a long time. Just watch the field. The green shoots are 3 inches tall now, rows straight as my grandfather would have demanded. The radio announcer's voice drifts through the screen door. In local news, Linda Brennan and Kyle Mercer were arraigned Friday on multiple charges including elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy to commit arson. Mercer Development, LLC, has filed for bankruptcy. The state contractors board revoked Mercer's license pending the outcome of criminal proceedings. Gene reaches over and turns it off. You okay? He asks. Yeah. I take a sip of coffee. It's not true, but it's not exactly a lie either. I'm something. Not okay, not broken. Somewhere in between. Rachel called this morning, I say. Found a buyer for Linda's Lexus. Getting $18,000 for it. Goes toward restitution. Won't cover what she stole. No, but it's something. A robin lands on the porch railing, red breast bright against the weathered wood. It cocks its head, studying us, then flies off toward the barn. What are you going to do with the place? Jean asks. Long term, I mean. You're 68, Walt. 5 acres is one thing, but 180 acres... I know. I've been thinking about this. Every night. Every morning. Danny's moving back after he graduates. Wants to learn the whole operation. I'll teach him. And when I can't do it anymore, I'll deed it to him. Same way my grandfather did for my father. Same way my father did for me. Jean nods. Rocks slow. That's good. That's right. We sit quiet again. A truck rumbles past on County Road J. Probably the Hendersons heading to their south field. The spring smells different than winter, warmer, greener, full of possibility instead of endings. You know what the worst part is? I say finally. I actually loved her, Linda. Not like I loved Margaret. Nobody could replace that. But I thought I'd found someone to share this with. Someone who'd want to be here, to build something. She fooled a lot of people, Jean says. Not just you. Maybe. I watch a cloud move across the sun, shadow racing across the field. But I should have seen it, should have known. Walt, Jean sets down his coffee, looks at me straight. You're a good man. That's not a weakness. Don't let what she did turn you bitter. I think about Margaret's prayer journal. Her hope that someone would protect me, her worry I was too trusting. Maybe I am. Maybe that's not the worst thing to be. Danny's truck pulls in around noon. He gets out carrying grocery bags and a manila envelope. From Rachel, he says, handing me the envelope. She said you'd want to see this. Inside, the deed to 180 acres retrieved from the safety deposit box. My note still attached. This land is Brennan land. 130 years. Not for sale. Underneath it, Rachel added something in her neat accountant's handwriting. 131 years and counting. We won, Dad. R. Also in the envelope, Margaret's pearl brooch, the one Rachel bought back from the pawn shop, cleaned and polished, the pearls glowing soft white. She said to give it to me when I get married, Danny says, grinning. Someday, way someday, like decades from now probably. I laugh. First real laugh in months. Your mother would like that. We walk out to the back barn together, to where my grandfather's hand plow hangs on the wall. Cast iron, 132 years old, the wood handle worn smooth by 3 generations of Brennan hands. I take it down, hand it to Danny. Your great-great-grandfather Henrik cleared this land with this plow, came from Norway with nothing but determination and a dream, built everything from frozen ground and hope. I run my hand over the old iron. Someday you'll hand this to your grandson, and you'll tell him the same story, about the land, about family, about standing firm when people try to take what's yours. Danny holds the plow carefully, reverently. I will, Grandpa, I promise. We hang it back on the wall, walk outside into the April sunshine. The field stretches before us, green rows reaching toward the horizon. A red-winged blackbird calls from the fence line. Somewhere in the distance, a tractor starts up. Life, continuing, the way it always has, the way it always will. Gene's still on the porch, rocking slow. He raises his coffee cup in salute. I wave back. Everything I fought for, everything Margaret prayed I'd keep is still here, still mine, still Brennan. The land remembers. 1 week later, I'm on the porch at sunset. Alone, this time. Gene's home with his own evening. Rachel's back in Milwaukee. Danny's at the hardware store picking up fence posts. Just me in the quiet and the sound of spring arriving for real. The rocking chair creaks. Margaret's chair. I haven't sat in it since she died. Felt wrong somehow, but tonight it feels right. The air smells like warm soil and growing things. The corn shoots are 5 inches now, bright green against the dark earth. Swallows nest in the barn eaves, darting in and out with bits of grass and mud. A dandelion blooms by the porch steps, first one of the year. Margaret used to make wine from dandelions, said it tasted like bottled sunshine. People ask me if I'm angry, at Linda, at everything that happened. Truth is, I'm just tired and grateful. Grateful for Gene and Reverend Oakes and Dolores and all those folks who showed up when I needed them. That's the thing about small towns. People notice. They watch out for each other. Linda didn't understand that, thought she could isolate me. But you can't isolate a man from land he's worked 43 years. Can't separate him from people who remember his grandfather. My coffee's gone cold, but I don't mind. The sunset paints the field gold and orange. Danny's truck turns into the driveway, headlights cutting through the dusk. This farm will be here long after I'm gone. Danny'll run it. Maybe his kids someday. And somebody'll find my ledgers in that barn, with all my notes about tractors and weather and the spring we planted through frozen ground. They'll know an old man held the line. When people tried to take what wasn't theirs, he stood firm, not because he was strong, but because the land remembers who belongs to it. The screen door creaks, Danny's voice. Grandpa, you hungry? I brought pizza. I stand. My knee pops, but I don't mind that either. Yeah, son, I'm hungry. We go inside together. Behind us, the field darkens. The first stars appear. And somewhere in the barn, Margaret's recipe card rests in my coat pocket, the paper soft from being carried through everything. Spring has come to Brennan land, and we're still here.